Hello YouTubers. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very important subject when it comes to using a particular versions of .NET Core in your development, whether you're developing an API or an MVC application or a desktop application. Just very recently, Microsoft have announced that they are going to be ending the support of .NET Core 2.2. So if you are using .NET Core 2.2, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the world for you, but it means that any new upgrades, any security or vulnerability fixes, any patches, any new APIs, you'll not be able to take advantage of that. And I'm gonna put the link in here for this announcement. Now, this video is coming literally 4 days before the actual end of life happens, but that, again, like I said, it doesn't mean that your world is going to end. It just means that you won't be able to get the latest and greatest. And a lot of people, you'll see this, a lot of people say things like, oh, if it works, don't fix it. We don't have to upgrade if we don't need to. You know, there's nothing in there in that library particularly that we care about. Why should we upgrade? And that's exactly a recipe for disaster, and let me tell you why. Being in the industry now for over 19 years, I have to tell you, like, every time someone said, if it works, don't fix it, we don't have to upgrade, we don't have to maintain our software, at some point in time the software will be doing something really, really important, and then all of a sudden you need that extra feature, you know, to continue to profit off of your project or make sure that it continues to work. But in order for you to add this new feature, let's say, you know, Newtonsoft or, you know, some new library that sends emails and stuff like that. Now, in order for that to happen, all of a sudden now you have to upgrade to the latest version, but because you haven't been upgrading or keeping up to date with your software, you haven't been taking care of it, now you have to take that leap and change over multiple breaking change LTS versions, and then you end up in these situations where you have enormous amounts of errors and your software is just, it takes probably, like some people, it might take them months just to upgrade the software because their software is so archaic and so bad that they wanted to fix so many errors, 500, 600, maybe over 1,000 errors because of the dependency issues and all that. With that being said, software is just like your house. You have to maintain it. You have to make sure that the code follows up the standards. You're using the latest and greatest APIs. When you don't upgrade your API, when you don't upgrade your software, you're basically, especially if you own a product or you manage a product, that means that you're not investing in the knowledge of the engineers that are working on this project. You're just keeping them at a specific version or a specific API. If they're not using it in their the best of their day, the 8 hours of their day work, it's very likely that they will not be willing to go learn it since they don't really use it, unless the very few that decide to work on external projects and actually keep themselves up to date. There's also this other situation where if you don't upgrade your software, you're going to end up with a disaster where things don't work anymore. Like if Azure at any point in time decided to say, okay, you know, .NET 2.2, we're not going to support it anymore. Any apps that are running with this framework, they're going to have to install extensions and go in a circle and just go, you know, do hacky things to make it work, maybe make it self-contained. It's just a lot of pain that you don't have to go through if you just spend as little as 10 or 20 minutes just to upgrade your software. And I'm going to show you today why this is important. And you'll see a lot of people actually, Microsoft have actually done a pretty good job, you know, putting out their documentation. Like if you see this very post, you know, there's the migration from 2.0 to 2.1 and then from 2.2 to 3. And what I'm going to show you to do is actually upgrading to 3.1, which is the LTS or long-term support. If you go in there, you know, I'm going to put that link in there. You're going to see a very detailed document about how to upgrade everything to the latest and greatest changes. Now, with that being said, this is all great, but all of these documents and all of this documentation is trying to cover as much cases as possible. It's not really covering, you know, a particular case or a real life scenario or real life application. What I'm going to do today is that I'm going to pick up one of the smaller projects that I have built in the past for one of my clients. And and I'm going to show you the application. I built the application in .NET Core 2.2 back in the day. That's like probably a year ago or so, and now I'm going to show you a real life application coming back into 3.1 and going through the pipeline. I'm going to show you like how you need to upgrade your pipeline as well to understand .NET Core 3.1 and your Azure instance to support that. So what I'm picking for you today is a very simple application. It's called PetLivit or Pet Diet Finder. You know, we had to rebrand it, you know, work with it, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to give you a link so you could go actually and see the application and all that. The application simply is basically a system that helps pet shop owners to go and find the products that fit their pets' diets, right? So if you have a dog and this dog cannot eat beef for some medical reason or whatever reason there is, right? You could go and say, okay, I have a dog, please give me all the products in your store that doesn't contain beef. So if you select beef and select search, it'll go and search for the available products, and I'll tell you, okay, there's this product and that product that actually don't have these ingredients. Meaning that if you go on the product side and you go and say, okay, this is goat formula for dogs, and you click edit, you'll actually see the beef unchecked, meaning it doesn't have that ingredient. A very simple application, but it helps people a lot find particular ingredients and particular products in a very short amount of time. Like in pet stores, people take very long to go look through the ingredients of every product and then gather all these products and give them to the customer. It's a very time wasting situation. But for us as engineers, you know, what we really care about, how do I upgrade this product into something that can make sure it's secure and it continues to work for the next maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. So like I said, the application is built in 2.2, which means the first thing you want to do is go right click on your project, and you want to go and move the target framework to 3.1. And as soon as you start doing that, things are going to start to break, obviously, because this is a breaking change. You'll actually see that in your packages, ASP.NET Core app is throwing a warning and saying, you know, I can't function with this thing. Now, if we go through the things that we have in here, I basically have Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity UI. If I just go and do right click, you know, you'll see in the documentation it says go in edit mode in your project and just type that. There's even an easier way. Like a lot of people say go in here and start changing the configurations and whatnot. That's one way to do it. There's another way to do it, which is just go to NuGet package manager and just search for the things that are complaining. So you have ASP.NET Core Identity with UI. You have the 3.1 right here, so you want to install that. So I'm upgrading this guy. And then obviously, like you guessed it, you know, the Entity Framework Core itself needs to be upgraded. So I'm just gonna go in here. As soon as you already added your project to 3.1, it goes ahead and just removes all the libraries that are outdated. But since we have the erroring and we have the messaging around what's actually breaking, we could just go do this ourselves. So this is Microsoft Entity Framework Core 3.1. So here we go. Here's our guy. Just working from startup all the way down, you know, just look at what's missing and just go ahead and upgrade it, right? So okay, so this is done. So we got these errors done. And then in here, now you gotta notice new errors. Now what this guy is complaining about, said you don't have SQL Server, so we want Entity Framework with SQL. Entity Framework Core with SQL. So let's go here and say Entity Framework Core SQL Server. Where is that? It's right here, and it also 3.1. You want to make sure that the library is 3.1. Unfortunately, I cannot make the size of this screen bigger when it comes to NuGet Package Manager. There probably is a way, I just don't know about it, so I'm sorry if you're using this, if you're watching this on your mobile phone. So okay, we installed this guy, so this is great. So that takes away the error with the use SQL Server. Now there's a new error where this guy's saying, okay, you just keep following it as you go. This guy is saying, okay, this guy, the application DB context is using an I identity, which is out of date, right? It doesn't exist in this context. So if we go in here, you'll find identity DB context, and it's using Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity and then Entity Framework Core. So let's just copy this guy the exact same way. go to NuGet package, and just find this guy and install the latest version. Here's your Entity Framework Core, install. There we go, accept. All right, and this guy should be happy now. Wait for it, boom, wonderful. So this guy is happy now, which means that this guy is happy now. All of this is good and dandy. And then the last thing, so now things should be technically building, you know, with some warning. At least the project will be a little bit building. Let's see, the project, okay. So there are still some code changes I want to do before I actually start doing that build. So instead of saying services.add MVC, you want to go and say use Razor pages, add Razor pages, like that. And also for the routing, you want to set up the MVC routing, the MVC options, right? So I want to go here and say options.enable endpoint routing false. And you can find out all the little details about why we're doing that, and you know what's the best practice to do it. I'm gonna actually create a project, an exact same project with .NET Core 3.1, and I'm gonna show you what the difference is. So this is iHosting Web Environment. They changed that. Now it's called iHost Web Environment, something like that, or iWeb Host Environment. Let me web host. Yeah, there's our guy. With that, there's an extension that you need to install for the environment switch. So if you do control period, it will just install the hosting extension. There's no craziness happening in there. And now this guy is happy. This guy is happy. It seems like that's pretty much all you really have to do. And then on the right side here, you have the ASP.NET Core app, which is erroring out. You actually don't need it anymore completely. So now the entire project is very clean. You don't have any errors. You don't have any warnings. If you go in here, just give it a second, these things should disappear. Actually, let me clean and build. Clean, and then build. Okay, let's see. This guy I have, okay, user authentication, use MVC, everything seems right. Clean. Rebuild. Still erroring out for some reason. Oh, I have, yeah, I have few things that I actually don't need in my project. Let's go to NuGet, manage NuGet packages. There's a couple of projects. So you have this design library in here. You want to update that guy. This is the code generation design library. So let's upgrade this guy while we're at it. And then hopefully, I think that should fix, you know, for the Razor language version and all that, everything should be fine now. Let's just try this one more time and then see. Detect a Razor language feature. This is typically caused by reference to Microsoft ASP.NET Core design package, which we already just upgraded. So let me reload the project then. Usually you don't have to do that, but let's unload the project and then reload the project. And then let's see what's erroring out, and then let's just build that guy. I see, oh, there's this guy. ASP.NET Core Design. So if I go here and say 3.1.0, I think that should do it. That should do the trick for us, I think. Okay, let's see. So this is the Razor design and Razor design. So we just need to find the right version for this guy, right? So that's Razor.design. Razor.design. Oh, you just actually delete this entire project. I'm really just looking at the actual documentation that I'm going to share with you. So if we just release this guy, completely delete this guy, everything should just build. Looks like it's working. Boom, successful. So now everything should be functional. Now, is it really functional? I'm going to go and run my application here. Here's my web application. Lo and behold, it's working. So that means that the application actually is functional and operating and excuse me, .NET Core 3.1. So we're just gonna try to log in again, make sure everything looks right, and it's logging in. So that completes this piece. All right, now let's go ahead and push this code. So I'm gonna go ahead and push this code straight to master, since I'm the only person on the team, quote unquote. So let's say upgrade to .NET Core 3.1. Right, I'm gonna commit that and I'm gonna push it, sync, push, and then let's go back to our repository and see what happened. This is Pit Diet, the Pit Diet project. There it is, Pit Diet Finder. So if you go to this Pit project and look at the pipelines, you'll find the pipelines, the upgrade to .NET Core. Now, my expectation is, so in some cases, this is what I've seen. In some cases, some pipelines, some agents are already up to date, so they won't really ask you to install 3.0 specifically, and some others are not. I hope this one doesn't work, because if it doesn't work, then I'm going to show you how to fix it. But if it works out of the box, then I'll just give you a high-level explanation of why that worked, but or if it doesn't work with you, what you should do. But we'll see. So waiting for console output. Let me refresh that, guy. Sometimes it gets out of date. Fantastic. So this guy passed. Now the restore one is the one that usually fails, you know, because it's trying to build based on the .NET framework version that you have. Is it? There you go. Is it blowing up? I just saw errors. I might be wrong. So it's retrieving all these NuGet packages. All these NuGet packages. Here we go. It looks like it's happy. It looks like. Since .NET 3.0, it looks like it passed. So since .NET 3.1 have already have been released very recently, some agents in ADO doesn't still adhere to that. So look at that. So everything here looks pretty good. We have one little warning. .NET report generator CLI does not contain an inclusive lower bound. So there might be a little, just few errors here and there. I expect my test to fail because I didn't upgrade to 3.1. Let's just make sure. A total test files match specific pattern. Let's see. Yeah, my tests are still using .NET Core App 2.2. Oh, interesting. It passed. Fantastic. All right. So now just the publishing. So now it's publishing to the artifact. The website where this is being published is pitlevit.com. So normally now it works, but once it starts to release, let's see what happens, right? So this is my release. Here is my service. Today is the 19th of December. It's queued. Okay, once this gets deployed, let's see what happens. I'm kind of not happy that it didn't fail on the build pipeline, but I'm gonna show you now, like, what would you do? What would you do if it actually failed on the build pipeline? Ideally, you should go and edit your pipeline and go use a new system, a new library called use.NET. Use .NET Core, and when you add this task, basically you want to add this task before the restore, and then you want to add in here the version of which you want to target. Now, a lot of people just go and do this 3.1. Nope, that's not actually the official version of .NET Core. If you go and say .NET Core 3.1 and go look at the actual where you need to download, you want to pick up this feature, the 3.1.100. That's what you should copy and throw in here in order for this to work. But since the agent that I'm running on is already good, so I don't really need to change anything. Let's go back to the release and see what that did. So this guy, it looks like it deployed with few warnings. Let's see what the warnings are. Can't find location, blah, blah. Okay, some weird errors that I really don't care about. It looks like it already deployed my application to Azure. Now the moment of truth. Does that mean if I go to pitlevit.com and run. Is it gonna work? I also hope this one doesn't work because I want to show you the workarounds and what you need to install. But if it seems like it's working. Let me try this on. There might be something going on, but let me try this on incognito mode just to see. Yeah, it's already functional. You go in to the real production application. It's only just one environment due to the very small nature of the product and the app. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run that. Okay, this is the real life product. Let's say I have a cat and the cat can't eat duck or egg or fish. I don't know if there's such a cat. And then I'm just gonna go and search, and it's gonna give me a bunch of products for cats, that are that are compatible. So now, for sure, for a fact, you are running 3.1 in your production environment. I don't know if there is an indication of that in Azure Portal. Let's just go and take a look while we're at it, since we already finished up the actual demo. And I'm actually, it would be a good opportunity to show you guys, what happens when you if your app didn't work. But ideally, also, I expect all the Azure components to work, as expected. So I say Pet Diet Finder, or there it is, Pet Diet Finder resources. And here is my web service. And I wonder, ideally in your configuration, you should be able to see general settings. See, I don't even know if these things actually honor what's actually implemented. Like ideally you want to go .NET Core and then save, but the application is running, so I don't think it's really honoring any of these. The only thing I could think of that could actually tell us what's installed, which it didn't work with me. Maybe it worked with some people, .NET version. But normally this guy gives you 2. So is that really what's installed? I don't think so, because the project itself, the project settings itself is not indicative of that. So actually we could probably verify if we go to advanced tools. We could use, you could actually access the directory of your web application and see if things work for you. So let's see, debug console, CMD. I don't think that'll change much, but we could actually look in the bowels of our site and see what's actually installed in there. And this is what's installed on our website. So these are all your libraries. You could very easily access all of that stuff, just like that. It says I'm installing ASP.NET Core. It doesn't really tell you what's going on. So if I say .NET version, I don't expect it to actually do anything. So anyways, ideally the application itself won't run at all with the configurations that we've done if we are on not running ASP.NET Core 3.1. In other words, if the environment actually was honoring the library, like let's say the environment is actually using 2.2, everything will just break apart. Like if I do that right now and go start building things, the APIs are different. Look how many errors. It's tons and tons of errors. So we know for a fact that we have successfully upgraded our project from scratch, to .NET Core 3.1. And like I said, it's very important. It takes probably how much it took us. It took us about maybe 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but it'll save you a lot of things down the road, and you want to keep your projects up to date. Now, with that being said, what the project look like if I start a brand new, this is another way you could actually figure out how to organize your project. If you go in here and say web application and look for ASP.NET Core, and you're selecting demo ASP.NET 3 web, and I'm just creating a new project in here, and I'm gonna select Core 3.1, and I want an MVC project, web application with model view and controller, right? A project template for ASP.NET Core. That's exactly the same template that I used to create the Pet Levitt project. Look at the startup, what it looks like. So it has add controllers with views, right? And it has use endpoints and then map control route. It's a teeny tiny bit different from a terminology standpoint, but things still work, right? I guess the question here would be, would our project work if we change these things that way? So if I go into previous project, recent projects, and I go to Pit Diet Finder and change things in here a little bit, would that work, right? It should technically work, but since we changed to 2.2, let's just bring it back to 3. I hope it didn't delete anything. If it did, then just that'll just wrap up my session here. So here we go. There's this guy like that, and then what he basically said is that add controllers with views. So that's the one thing he did here, right? And then down here, they said use endpoints, right? And then I forgot, honestly. Let's go open both of them and compare and see if things work. I feel like this one is a lot easier than going and saying options, enable endpoints, and all that kind of stuff. If it works, I don't know. So this is map controller route. So endpoints and then map controller route. Okay, I'll just copy this guy from here and put that in here and just call this guy endpoints. It looks like this guy would work, technically. We'll see. So this guy's like that. Let's go and run and see if that works. Yeah, it doesn't seem to like that too much. There is still more into it than just doing endpoint routing and all that kind of stuff. And that's okay. I'm seeing, however, there's one thing that I don't have in my application, which is use routing. I should probably use that in here and see if that helps. So app.use routing like that, and let's run. Yeah, it looks like pretty much the same thing. Endpoint blah blah contains authorization metadata about middleware was not found. So I basically want the use authorization endpoint. So let's do that. Use authorization. So in here, app.use authorization, and then run. It looks like it works. So these are, I guess there are two different ways you could do this as long as your libraries are up to date. Some people are going to run into problems where if they're using a third-party libraries, they might run into the problem of, okay, this third party does not support, and I ran into that problem myself, this third-party library does not really support .NET Core 3.1. So what do? It's time to look for alternatives, to try to think about, like, when you use a third-party library, you want to really think about, you know, is the team building that library, whether it's an open source project or a proprietary project, is the team staying up to date? Because like I said to you, like for a lot of teams, people will say, I don't see the business value into upgrading this library. That's really bad thing to do, because you kick that can down the road, it ends up being a lot even more costly and even more work to fix down the road. So you want to make sure that your software is maintained and in good shape. And, you know, in addition, all the people that you're working with, even if you're working by yourself on an individual project, you want to make sure that you keep yourself up to date in this really fast-paced industry. So that's pretty much it. I apologize for the little try and error situations that I had during that video, but you know, it's a pretty new thing, and we want to make sure we cover all the scenarios. This is a real life scenario end to end where you could actually upgrade a real life application. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to drop me a comment in the comment section. I really appreciate the views and the comments, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video. Thank you for watching.